It's hard to believe the April 8th, 2024 solar eclipse is almost upon us. Hey there, everyone. Meteorologist Vanessa Alonso here. Back in 2017, St. Joseph was in the path of totality. Unfortunately, Mother Nature was not on our side. How lucky can we be this time around? Well, I have a good friend of mine here to answer all those questions for us today. I am joined by Kelly Beatty of Sky and Telescope magazine. Kelly, I am so happy you are here today. Thank you so much for taking the time.
My pleasure, Vanessa.
So let's start off with the meat and potatoes, Kelly. We've been talking about this event, us, enthusiasts, for the last few years, even I think since the last solar eclipse in 2017. Are you noticing a big deal this time around with the solar eclipse compared to 2017, or there is like equal?
Oh, yeah. We have this saying in the eclipse chasing biz that once you've seen totality for the first time, the first four words out of your mouth are, "When's the next one?" And luckily for us, the next one was only 7 years later. And so here we are in 2014. I'm really sorry that you got clouded out. It did get dark, I'm sure, but you just didn't get to see the sun that day. Now, in St. Joe, you're not going to have totality this time, but you will be close. Let me give you the times, okay, so we can get these out of the way here. This is a long, slow motion event. It lasts about 2.5 hours from the time the moon first takes a nibble out of the sun until it leaves, and that will run from 12:39 until 3:11 in the afternoon. All right. So hope for clear skies, at least for that period of time. At the middle of the eclipse at 1:55, you're going to see that 87% of the sun's disk has been covered by the moon. All that's going to be left in the sky is like a little thin crescent. And that's pretty remarkable. A lot of the emphasis has been on totality, totality, totality. But if you're stuck where you are and you want to have a chance to look, you have a pretty decent deep eclipse that day. And in fact, everywhere in the contiguous US is going to see a partial eclipse on that day.
Now, back in 2017, I was in Hiawatha, Kansas, not too far from St. Joe, out to the west. And I remembered it was cloudy, it was raining, and then it was like the heavens opened up and we saw totality happened, and it was just mind-blowing. For those who weren't so lucky here in St. Joseph, Missouri has a second chance, quote unquote, to see this total solar eclipse. But this time it's our friends down in the southeastern part, in the Bootheel, Cape Girardeau, for example. Tell us about how big of a deal it is on the southeastern part of the state compared to here in northwest Missouri.
Yeah, Vanessa, it is literally kind of like night and day difference. Here in Boston, we have a big 4th of July celebration. And so the difference I can describe is, imagine it's the 4th of July and you've got one little lame sparkler that, you're waving around, versus having a front row seat for the giant fireworks spectacular. That is the difference. And so if you can take that day off and put the kids in the car or whatever and drive into the path of totality, you don't need to be on the center line. You just need to be inside that 120-mile wide stripe that's going across the country. You'll have a good chance of seeing all the amazing things like the sun's corona and the stars will come out. It's going to be amazing. So if you can do that, please do, because it is really it's a multi-sensory thing. That it will get cooler. Birds and animals will start acting funny, and it's definitely worth it, because the next chance we have here in the continental U.S. is 2044, and I don't want to wait that long.
I remember now that you were describing how totality is, I remember that darkness, that feeling of darkness back in 2017. I think in Hiawatha, the totality for us was, I think, about 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
Right.
And are we looking at the same amount of totality in southeast Missouri this time around?
Oh, longer. It's actually about 4.5 minutes if
Wow.
you're right in the middle of the path. And in fact, this eclipse is one of, the whole thing lasts 2.5 hours, but the real selling point is when the moon completely covers the sun, when you're literally standing in the moon's shadow. And this time around, that's going to be about 4.5 minutes. It is one of the 8 longest total solar eclipses in this century. So again, if you can get there, you should.
Now, Missouri is just one piece of the puzzle. I mean, we're talking about thousands and thousands of miles
Yeah.
of where the solar eclipse is going to be coming through. Can you break down its path through the United States, Kelly? Because, you know, there could be some people who are like, well, I'm going to be in Jonesboro, Arkansas, or I'm going to be in Texas, or in up north, let's say in Michigan or something. Can you break it all down of its path through the United States, Kelly?
Yeah, sure. So you need to imagine a spot on the Earth that's a couple of thousand miles, in that's the size of the moon. But by the time that shadow gets to the Earth, it's only about 100 miles across. It's reduced to that much. And so that's going to race across the US and Mexico at supersonic speeds because that's the speed of the moon in its orbit. You're literally watching the moon go around its orbit. From the time of the West Coast to the East Coast, it's about 90 minutes total for it takes that long to cross the US. So, and when you factor in the time zones on the West Coast, it'll happen about, 10:15 in the morning. And by the East Coast, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So wherever you are, you need to you be aware that something is happening. Now, I mentioned that you're going to have 87% of the sun covered, and you might say, well, so what? Well, that's enough to actually notice that something weird is happening, even if you're not looking up at the sun, and we'll get to that in a sec, I'm sure. But even if you're just kind of looking around, the light will be dimmer. It tends to take on a kind of silvery characteristic. And if you look at shadows on the ground, they're sharper than usual. And so, this is telling us that something unusual is happening in the sky, and indeed it will be.
And let's go ahead and talk about these famous little guys. I mean, these are actually still my solar eclipse glasses that I wore back in 2017. I'm surprised.
Very stylish. Very stylish.
Oh no, I love it. I love these. And I think I kept this as like a momentum to remind me that I got to see a solar eclipse on August 21st, 2017. And now it's like, oh, we have another solar eclipse coming up. Will these be good? So that's been like a number one question we have been getting from a lot of viewers who have kept their solar eclipse glasses from 2017. How good could they be for this upcoming eclipse, Kelly?
All right. Now, there's a good backstory here because there were a lot of counterfeit glasses that were brought into the country from parts afar. And what you want to look for is on the inside, there should be printing that shows a certification. And if that certification is there, and if the glasses aren't damaged, if they're not creased or cracked or got holes in them, they are perfectly okay to use again.
Yeah, because I remember that I remember doing safety courses about this because everyone thinks, oh, I'm just going to look up at the sun. No, you have to have these on if you want to look up and see it. Especially if you're not going to be in totality, because the only times you will be able to take this off is when we're in totality, if you are in the path of totality.
That's right. And I would encourage folks to go out and get those glasses now and not wait until the last minute. It isn't that you might not get them, but you don't want to have to pay 20 bucks a pair, which is what the scalpers will be asking for, right? So you can go to hardware stores. The major hardware stores will have them. Again, look for that certification. There are places to go online, and let me throw out a website for everyone to use as sort of the go-to. It's eclipse.aas.org. That's for the American Astronomical Society, and it's encyclopedic. And in particular, there's a whole page on places where you can order these glasses. But if you do it now, they're a buck or two a piece. They're not really that expensive. I will have to say that I am a fan of this style. It's a 3x5 card, and you can see the little window that's in it. And why I like it is you can punch a hole in one corner and wear it around your neck, and it's always there and handy, ready to go. Those are harder to find. Don't worry. If you've got, glasses, that's great. And if you don't have the glasses, you can still experience this eclipse inadvertently. So what you could do, you can use what I call the waffle technique, which you cross your fingers like this to make a waffle pattern, and you let the light shine through it onto the sidewalk or whatever, little tiny beads that will create crescents, or look for patterns of dappling going through the leaves in the trees. Now it's a little early for leaves. The fallback position, and this everyone can do this, take a colander, that vegetable strainer, out of your kitchen with all the little holes in it, and let the sun shine through it. And on the sidewalk, you will see dozens of little tiny crescent suns during the middle of the eclipse.
Oh my goodness. This is just bringing me back memories of 2017, all these science experiments, young, families, even kids were doing to get excited. Now that we're less than a month away, the excitement just continues to build up. There are people who don't remember, who weren't here for the 2017 eclipse. Now they're going to be able to enjoy this, especially the youngsters. I mean, how can kids get excited for this eclipse?
Well, a lot of their schools, I'm sure, will say, let's use the shoebox method where you take a box and you put a hole in one side and you put it over your head. That's not a very good method, I have to say. It's not worth it. I would just, let light shine through onto the ground through little holes. And in fact, you could take a piece of cardboard, kids, take a piece of cardboard and punch little holes in it that say, hi, mom, or the name of your dog or your name or whatever, and let the sun shine through that, and it will create a pattern on the ground in the pattern of the holes that you have, except every little dot will be a little crescent sun, and that'll be really great.
Where are you planning to see the eclipse, Kelly? I'm curious.
I am going to Fredericksburg, Texas. Now, there in it, at this path that goes across the U.S. it's not an equal opportunity path from the standpoint of weather. In Southwest Texas, the odds are best, at least within the U.S., for clear skies, maybe about a 60% chance of clear skies that day. As you go farther to the Northeast, the odds go down a little bit. Here in the Boston area where I live, April 8th, we could have a snowstorm that day. It's just, you just never know. But, climate is what you predict and weather is what you get. And so just keep an eye on that weather forecast. And it's just the luck of the draw. You had bad luck in 2017. I'm hoping that you'll have it clear skies on April 8th.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching the GFS models very closely leading, and then eventually the NAM models, and then all those models leading up to the big event.
Vanessa, if it's cloudy that day, it's on you. You realize that?
Yeah. We almost got blamed in 2017. I'm hoping Mother Nature doesn't point the finger of blame at us here again. So, Kelly, my friend, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. You're just continuing to help us build up the momentum to the big day. Looking forward to talking to you after the eclipse is over. And thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate it, Kelly. Is there a website people can go to if they want more information, if there was something we forgot to talk about today?
Yeah, for example, anything related to the eclipse, I mentioned that one, eclipse.aas.org. You can also go to skyandtelescope.org. That's the magazine that I work for, and there's lots of information there too. It's a great experience. It's a great way to have fun for you and your whole family. We didn't mention much about taking photos. All that information is there as well.
Well, actually, we can talk quickly about that, about taking photos. So how good, especially now, we have these smartphones.
Yes.
They were big back in 2017, but obviously technology has gotten better. How effective are smartphones now?
Actually, they are pretty good, but you need to have two things going for you. If you're just going to hold it up, first of all, if you're just going to take pictures through your smartphone, you will need a filter for the smartphones too, right? In front of the smartphone or in front of your binoculars or whatever you might be using, whatever you're using, make sure you have a filter for the front of it. You can order binocular filters or camera lens filters, but let's say you just have your smartphone. You can use those little eyeglasses that you have. You can put it in front of the lens of the smartphone and zoom out, and you can get that little crescent sun. And there are two things I would suggest to help guarantee success, if you can. First of all, buy yourself a bracket. It's like $20 that you can use to clamp your smartphone to a camera tripod. Okay. And that will allow you to keep it nice and steady. The second thing is spend $5 or $10, go online and get one of these gizmos. It's a little Bluetooth remote for your smartphone so that you can take pictures without ever touching the camera. And the last thing I'd suggest is there is an app called Solar Snap. Solar Snap. The app itself is free. That will allow you to control the functions of your camera like focus and zoom and such, specifically for the Eclipse. And you can also buy little filters that go attached with Velcro onto the front of your camera. Solar Snap, I highly recommend that one.
Okay, Solar Snap. I will definitely recommend that to the viewers. Is there anything else we didn't talk about, Kelly, that you want to inform our viewers about in relation to the April 8th solar eclipse?
You know, I would just say find a way to explore it. Use it as a great family event. This is literally, you are literally watching the clockwork of the solar system. You're watching the moon move through its orbit across the sky. And I think that's pretty heady stuff, at least for me, the astronomy geek, but maybe for you and your viewers as well.
Oh my goodness, so much helpful information, Kelly. Again, thank you so much for joining us today, and looking forward to April 8th, 2024.
Wishing you clear skies and me as well. Take care.
Thanks, Kelly.
Bye-bye.